As you are aware, that today is a historic day. Historic day because of the fact that 43 years ago, India woke up to this morning in a very different way. 25th of June 1975, somewhere around 11:45 p.m., Indian democracy saw a black day. Emergency was imposed over this great democratic country by none other than the then Prime Minister, Mrs. Indira Gandhi ji. We should all be reminded of those days of Indian history. Why should we be reminded? We should be reminded as to how the lust and hunger for power by the then Congress party, and particularly Mrs. Indira Gandhi, brought some of the worst days as far as democracy in India is concerned. Friends, today, the present Congress President, Mr. Rahul Gandhi, has his own way, I would say autocratic way of functioning within the Congress party. Often he questions the Bharatiya Janata Party on certain lines. We had seen as to how Mr. Rahul Gandhi had gone for impeachment of the Chief Justice of India recently. We had seen as to how after every electoral debacle or defeat, Mr. Rahul Gandhi questions the EVM machine, the election commission. We see as to how after every raid by any autonomic department in this country, be it the IT or be it the ED, of the corrupt Congress politicians who had looted and usurped huge amount of money, taxpayers' wealth, during the 10 years regime, whenever there is a raid, Mr. Rahul Gandhi cries it's vendetta politics, and that the government is trying to subvert the agencies under its agency. Friends, today, rather than addressing everyone, I believe this press conference carries a special message and a lesson to Mr. Rahul Gandhi, who needs to be reminded about the fact that what your family, and particularly what your grandmother, Mrs. Indira Gandhi, had done to subvert democracy and to hold Indian constitution to hostage. People of this country are extremely intelligent. They're aware of what happened during the emergency days because our family members have spoken to us. But I'm sure, Mr. Rahul Gandhi, your family members might not have educated you as to what happened because of your family to this great democratic country called India. Friends, 43 years ago, when emergency was imposed, the fundamental rights of the citizen of this country, which is guaranteed by the Constitution drafted by Baba Saheb Ambedkar, was suspended. Article 21, that is the right to life itself, was suspended. And the worst part of it was that none of those people who were arrested and who were thrown behind the bars, they even had the right to go and complain, they even had the right to go and file a case, they even had a right to appeal for bail. You cannot approach the court, you could not file for bail, and that's the reason as to why these people who fought for democracy of the country, for most of the tenure of the emergency, they remained inside the jails. And I'm thankful today that I belong to a political dispensation, a political party whose top leadership were all in jail fighting to uphold the basic tenets, the basic principle of democracy of India, the basic principle of Constitution of India. Friends, the parliament was converted into a prison of one man, rather I should say one woman's whims and fancies. The proceedings of the parliament also could not be reported by the media. Such was the anarchy, such was the dictatorial attitude that prevailed during the era of emergency. Several amendments were brought to effect. Amendment 42nd Amendment also being one of them. Several amendments were brought to the effect to see to it that power was vested with only a singular person, namely Mrs. Indira Gandhi, and everything was controlled by her. We had seen Mr. Rahul Gandhi of late talking about freedom of expression. Under the garb of freedom of expression, when Mr. Modi became the Prime Minister of the country in 2014, we had seen immediately thereafter, for the sake of opposition, there was an episode of award wapasi in the name of freedom of expression. But Mr. Rahul Gandhi and those who participated tangentially in this award wapasi event, and those who point fingers towards the present dispensation, should be reminded as to what is really subverting the freedom of expression. Most of the newspapers were cut off. Such was the event that 25th of June 1975 saw the imposition of emergency, and on the night of 25th of June 1975, electricity was cut off from the Bahadur Shah Zafar Road in Delhi, where most of the national newspapers have their head offices, so that without electricity, the newsprint cannot come out. Only probably 2 national newspapers had their offices outside of Bahadur Shah Zafar Road, and that's the reason as to why only 2 national newspapers could be published on 26th of June 1975. Editorials were suspended. Letters were written as to what should be and what should not be printed in the media. There was a complete censorship as far as media is concerned. And I'm reminded today Mr. Rahul Gandhi, in some of his press conferences, has the audacity of coming out and saying that I would give protection to media. Mr. Rahul Gandhi, the kind of protection that the media was accorded to by Mrs. Indira Gandhi, we have all seen during the days of emergency. So you should be reminded, you should in fact learn certain lessons through these press conferences which BJP is holding across the country, because your family is going to keep these knowledge away from you. As far as journalists were concerned, friends, you would be astonished to know, since I am in front of my journalist friends, 253 top journalists of the country were imprisoned. People who represented foreign newspapers and broadcasting agencies like BBC, etc., the foreign correspondents, they were barred from entering into India. Some of the eminent journalists like Mark Tully, they were not allowed to enter and report for BBC. They were even contemplating arrests of some of the foreign correspondents. Such was the scenario as far as freedom of expression and media is concerned. Mr. Rahul Gandhi of late speaks about compromise of judiciary. Mr. Gandhi has to be reminded as to what was a committed judiciary then. I'm sorry to state that presently in the lust of power, Mr. Rahul Gandhi has trended the lowest path of politics, even going to the extent of bringing an impeachment motion against the Chief Justice of India. But he has to be reminded as to how the precursor of emergency, in the month of June itself, 1975, was a judicial proceeding. The judicial proceeding of Allahabad High Court, where Srimati Indira Gandhi, the then Prime Minister, lost her case. Her election was countermanded. Her election was cancelled, and she was banned from contesting election for 6 consecutive years. Indira ji could not take that, and because of which an emergency was imposed within approximately 12 to 13 days of this judgment coming out of Allahabad High Court. We had seen as to how judges were superseded. We had seen the famous case of Justice Ray. Thereafter, while emergency was being imposed, and subsequently, there was a phrase that there has to be a committed judiciary. You all have to fall in line, and you have to have a way of thinking. The way of thinking of the government and the way of the judicial thought process has to be in sync with each other. A person who would always be remembered within and outside of the judicial fraternity for his uprightness, for his boldness, and his name would always appear in golden letters as far as judicial history of this country is concerned, is Justice H.R. Khanna, Hansraj Khanna. We had seen as to how Justice Khanna's dissent cost him his promotion. He could not be elevated to the Chief Justice of India's position, and as to how Justice Beg superseded Justice Khanna, and Justice Khanna had to resign from Supreme Court. So, of course, this only points towards subversion of judicial process. This points as to how the Congress dispensation has always tried its best to mar every institution of this country in a way that the Congress finds favor in it. An astonishing portion of one of the proceedings in the court during the emergency was when Justice Khanna asked the then Attorney General of India, if someone was murdered during emergency, what would be the case? Would he be allowed to approach the court for justice? And you would be astonished, friends, that the then Attorney General said that I say this with a great deal of difficulty, and you have to almost lose your conscience to hear what I am saying, that, well, yes, if someone is murdered in the country today, since Article 21 is suspended, he or she has no right to approach the court for justice. Such was the scenario. मित्रों, ऐसी परिस्थिति थी, अगर किसी की मृत्यु भी हो जाती तो उस समय वो कोर्ट जाके न्याय का गुहार नहीं लगा सकता था, क्योंकि देश में आपातकाल लगा था। और मैं आज गर्व के साथ कह सकता हूं कि आपातकाल के समय जिन लोगों ने देश में लोकतंत्र को बचाने के लिए युद्ध लड़ा, लोकतांत्रिक तरीके से अपने आप को आग में झोंक दिया, उनमें सर्वप्रथम कोई थे तो संघ के कार्यकर्ता थे, जनसंघ के कार्यकर्ता थे। और जिस प्रकार से हमारे पार्टी के सर्वाधिक बड़े नेता सारे लोग जेल गए थे और जेल से ही देश के लिए लड़ रहे थे, वो अपने आप में एक बहुत बड़ी गाथा है, और इस गाथा के लिए हम सबको इन्हें प्रणाम करना चाहिए। ये दुखद विषय है कि राहुल गांधी जी इन सब विषयों से अवगत नहीं है। राहुल जी, लेट मी टेल यू, देयर इज अ डिक्टेटोरियल एटीट्यूड विद इन द गांधी फैमिली। संपूर्ण गांधी परिवार में एक डिक्टेटोरियल एटीट्यूड है, और उसका कारण एकमात्र है द सेंस ऑफ एंटाइटलमेंट दैट दिस फैमिली ऑफ इंडिया पोजेसेस। नेहरू, जवाहरलाल नेहरू जो देश के प्रधानमंत्री बने, पहले प्रधानमंत्री, नेहरू जी से इंदिरा जी, इंदिरा जी से राजीव जी, राजीव जी से सोनिया जी, और सोनिया जी से राहुल जी, तमाम ये जो परिवार के लोग रहे, इनको लगता है कि भारत उनका है और भारत पे सत्ता चलाने और हुकूमत करने की एंटाइटलमेंट उन्हीं की है। इमरजेंसी के समय कांग्रेस ने एक नारा दिया था, इंडिया इज इंदिरा एंड इंदिरा इज इंडिया। ठीक उसी प्रकार जिस प्रकार से जर्मन में जर्मन लोगों ने जो नाजी पार्टी के थे, उन्होंने हिटलर के लिए हेल हिटलर कहा था कि हिटलर ही सर्वस्व है। ठीक उसी प्रकार एक हिटलर शाही भारतवर्ष में बढ़ाने की काम कांग्रेस पार्टी ने किया है। राहुल गांधी जी, जहां तक जवाहरलाल नेहरू जी का सवाल है, कश्मीर के प्रॉब्लम को जिस प्रकार से जवाहरलाल नेहरू ने एक सेंस ऑफ एंटाइटलमेंट के साथ डील किया, आज अगर कश्मीर में दिक्कत है तो जवाहरलाल नेहरू जी के कारण ही है। आई वुड कॉल इट अ सेंस ऑफ डिक्टेटोरियल एटीट्यूड of the then Prime Minister that he did not heed to the advices of the then Home Minister, respected Patel ji. वल्लभ भाई पटेल जी ने जिस प्रकार की हिदायत दी थी, वल्लभ भाई पटेल जी देश के लिए, हित के लिए जो करना चाहते थे, कश्मीर को सुलझाने के लिए जो करना चाहते थे, अपने डिक्टेटोरियल एटीट्यूड के कारण जवाहरलाल नेहरू ने उसे ताक पे रखा, और आज का नतीजा है कि कश्मीर में जो प्रॉब्लम है वो हम देख रहे हैं। इंदिरा गांधी वॉज द वन हु थॉट that she was synonymous to India. इंदिरा गांधी ने सोचा कि वो पर्यायवाची है भारत के साथ, और उसका नतीजा रहा आपातकाल, जिसके विषय में हम चर्चा कर रहे हैं। राजीव गांधी too had a dictatorial attitude, and that's the reason as to why friends like you, journalists, when they asked Rajiv Gandhi about the 1984 brutal killing of the Sikhs, राजीव गांधी जी का उत्तर था, बड़ा पेड़ गिरता है तो धरती हिलती है। 3000 लोग, 3000 हमारे सिख बंधु मारे गए। और जब पत्रकारों ने सवाल पूछा राजीव जी से कि ये जो प्रायोजित हत्याएं हैं, ये जो मर्डर आप करवा रहे हैं कांग्रेसियों द्वारा सिखों का, क्या ये उचित है? तो राजीव गांधी जी ने इसको बड़ा लाइटली लिया, क्योंकि 3000 सिखों की जीवन की कीमत उनके लिए कुछ नहीं थी। उन्होंने बड़े सहज तरीके से कहा कि एक बड़ा पेड़ जब गिरता है तो धरती थोड़ी हिलती है। तो दैट वाज बिकॉज ऑफ द डिक्टेटोरियल एटीट्यूड ऑफ मिस्टर राजीव गांधी. As far as Sonia Gandhi ji is concerned, of course, she without any accountability was almost the ruler of this country for 10 long years. NAC, जिसको कि एक कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल बॉडी के रूप में देखा नहीं जा सकता है, जो एक संवैधानिक संस्था नहीं थी, NAC की अध्यक्षा बनके as a chairperson of NAC, the way she had reduced the prime ministerial position into a proxy prime ministership for 10 long years, and Manmohan Singh ji was reduced into a proxy prime ministership. In fact, never before in the history of India had the post of prime minister become a post of ridicule. And that is what Sonia ji had done, thanks to her dictatorial attitude. She wanted to enjoy the perks of power without the responsibility of power, and this is the classic definition of dictatorial attitude. From Nehru ji to Indira ji to Rajiv ji to Sonia ji, all of them had the basic gene of dictatorial attitude, and Rahul Gandhi follows suit. Rahul Gandhi, bereft of any talent of becoming a mass leader, with due respect I say this because he has lost election after election due to non-performance, bereft of any quality to become a mass leader, bereft of any quality to serve the people, shows an uncanny sense of entitlement that I am the one who has to become the prime minister. कर्नाटका के चुनाव के समय उन्होंने बिल्कुल घोषित किया, उन्होंने घोषित करते हुए कहा कि मैं प्रधानमंत्री बन सकता हूं। अभी चंद दिनों पहले उनके मीडिया के जो हेड हैं रणदीप सुरजेवाला जी ने एक चैनल में अपने वक्तव्य में स्पष्ट रूप से कहा कि 2019 के चुनाव में अगर कोई किसी प्रकार का गठबंधन बनता है तो उसके प्रधानमंत्री कैंडिडेट राहुल गांधी होंगे. This sense of entitlement also comes out from a dictatorial mooring. So all I want to say is the Gandhi family right from the beginning till today has this dictatorial mooring. Friends, at the end I would just like to suggest that democracy is all about accountability. Democracy is all about transparency. Democracy is all about performance. And democracy is all about sabka saath, sabka vikas. Whereas emergency is all about entitlement. And entitlement is what is the basis of the rule of Congress party. We had seen only yesterday some of the news channels had come out with reports as to how the Gandhi family has yet again been caught red-handed in one of the corrupt acts. Robert Vadra has to pay now 25 crore rupees worth income tax which was undisclosed previously, 2010-2011 year. So of course this is nothing but a dictatorial attitude where you feel that you are entitled to usurp money which belongs to the poor taxpayers. Friends, Modi ji के नेतृत्व के सहारे ये देश आगे बढ़ रहा है. मोदी जी ने अपने आप को कभी प्रधानमंत्री के रूप में प्रस्तुत नहीं किया, मुख्य सेवक के रूप में प्रस्तुत किया है. सड़क, बिजली, पानी, गैस सिलेंडर, ये सब गांव-गांव तक, घर-घर तक, गरीबों तक कैसे पहुंचे, इस नारे के साथ हम काम कर रहे हैं. और जो लोग एक डिक्टेटोरियल एटीट्यूड के साथ काम कर रहे हैं, उनका एक ही उद्देश्य है कि उन तक सत्ता कैसे पहुंचे. जनता सब देख रही है. 19 के चुनाव में जवाब अवश्य देगी. Thank you, friends. Any questions? Yes, Rishika. I'll take everyone's questions one by one.
While you're talking about selective democracy, a lot of regional parties which have now gained momentum against BJP say BJP is ahead of the rule irrespective of democracy in the current situation. How would you want to respond to that?
See, as far as regional parties are concerned, the beauty of India is it's a multi-party system democracy. We respect every political party, but you would see, and since it's a very historical day today, a day when emergency was imposed 43 years ago, most of these political parties who are at the helm of affairs in any state, they had taken birth out of anti-democracy, anti-Congress thought process. Be it Lalu Prasad Yadav, be it any other political party, their basic mooring was they were anti-Congress. They were against dictatorial attitudes of Srimati Indira Gandhi and the Congress party. It's an irony that in present scenario, because of promotion of dynastic politics in most of these parties, They are grappling with a situation where they have to find parking spaces for their kith and kin, for their children. And that's the reason as to why they have converted themselves into Congress version 2. What is Lalu Prasad Yadav? Lalu Prasad Yadav today, for instance, I'm giving you an example, he's an incarnate corruption. Corruption kya hota hai? And he is fighting a battle to see to it that his children are settled, while we are fighting a battle where people of India are settled. तो कौन emergency लगा रहा है? जो देश की जनता के लिए लड़ रहा है वो emergency लगा रहा है, या जो अपने बच्चों को किस प्रकार पॉलिटिकल पार्किंग स्पेस मिल जाए वो इमरजेंसी लगा रहा है? बंगाल में क्या हो रहा है? व्हाट इज हैपनिंग इन बंगाल? 2 of our कार्यकर्तास, दलित कार्यकर्तास, were killed brutally. Trilochan Mahato was brutally killed, was hanged from a pole, and what was written on his back? He was inked on the back. You are 18, how dare you work for BJP? I wanted to kill you since long because you voted for BJP. Thankfully, today you are dead. Just because you belong to an ideology, you are killed. Is that emergency, or working for the people of country is emergency? We will continue to work for the people of this country. While those, including over here in the state of Telangana, those who fight for dynasty, those who fight only for the power of their sons and daughters, they are not Democrats, they are dynasts.
Sir, Paul from Times.
Third.
Paul from Times now, sir.
Yes.
We saw leading newspapers carrying ads about the Black Day put out by BJP. However, the Congress has put out saying this is misuse of public money for political PR. How do you respond?
See, the Congress party should not preach misuse of public money. The party which has looted almost the largest extent of public money, and the party which had the sense of entitlement that every nook and corner, every building of this country, every park of this country, every hospital of this country, every playground of this country should be named only after the Gandhi family, should not be questioning any other political dispensation, when the political dispensation for causes of public interest is addressing the people that this is what had happened 43 years ago, and we should know our history, because only through knowing our history will we have a future which would be golden. The Congress party and the sense of entitlement of Congress party that everything in this world should be named only after the Gandhi family, I'm sorry to state, is nauseating. He has been asking since long. Sir, please.
सर मैं आपसे हिंदी में सवाल लूंगा.
Please, पूछिए.
इमरजेंसी को लेकर अचानक से बीजेपी को इमरजेंसी की याद आती है. प्रधानमंत्री तक मुंबई में कार्यक्रम में हिस्सा ले रहे हैं. अचानक से इमरजेंसी को लेकर इतनी बड़ी तैयारी या इतना बड़ा आप इतने बड़े पैमाने पर इमरजेंसी को याद कर रहे हैं. कहा यह जा रहा है कि 2019 का चुनाव है, बीजेपी सरकार कुछ खास नहीं कर पाई, इसलिए मुद्दे से ध्यान भटकाने की ये कवायद है. साथ ही इंदिरा गांधी इमरजेंसी लेकर आई थी, लेकिन उनके कुछ सालों बाद ही 2 साल बाद ही थम्पिंग मेजॉरिटी से वापस आई थी सरकार में. इसको कैसे गए आप?
देखिए, पहली बात है कि हम आज अचानक इमरजेंसी को याद कर रहे हैं, आपातकाल को याद कर रहे हैं, ये गलत बात है. 1977 के पश्चात, जब इमरजेंसी मार्च के महीने 1977 में हटा, उसके पश्चात आप एक ऐसा वर्ष दिखा दीजिए जब भारतीय जनता पार्टी 80 में भारतीय जनता पार्टी बनी, उससे पहले जनता पार्टी में हम मर्ज हो गए थे, जनसंघ. एक ऐसा वर्ष बता दीजिए जब हमने इमरजेंसी को याद नहीं किया है या इस विषय को लेकर जनता के बीच में गए नहीं. चाहे हम सरकार में रहे हों, चाहे हम सरकार में नहीं रहे हों. और आज भारतीय जनता पार्टी के आप ट्विटर हैंडल में और फेसबुक में देख सकते हैं, अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी जी के और हमारे तमाम बड़े नेताओं ने जो भाषण पूर्व के वर्षों में दिया था, चाहे वो कविता के रूप में हो जो हृदय को विद्वेलित कर देती है, ऐसे सारे विषयों को हमने डाला है. तो आज अचानक नहीं, हमेशा भारतवर्ष के लोकतंत्र का जो काला अध्याय रहा है, उस काले अध्याय को जनता तक सदैव पहुंचाते रहेंगे ताकि जनता कांग्रेस के असली चरित्र को जान सके. जहां तक ये आक्षेप आपका है कि हमने काम नहीं किया इसलिए इमरजेंसी के विषय में बात कर रहे हैं, बिल्कुल नहीं. हर दिन हम प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस करते हैं, उज्ज्वला के विषय में करते हैं, हम कितनी बिजलियां हमने 18,000 गांव तक पहुंचाया है उस विषय पे करते हैं. आज का दिन एक ऐतिहासिक दिन है और इसलिए इतिहास के उस पन्ने को पलटकर भारत की जनता से बात कर रहे हैं.